It's your boy Mike, back in the saddle at the Novel Nest, and I have just returned, slightly disheveled but grinning like a fool, from one of the most riotous, ridiculous, and surprisingly insightful journeys in all of 18th century literature. We're talking about Tobias Smollett's sprawling, scandalous, and side-splittingly funny The Expedition of Humphry Clinker. Seriously, people, if you think 18th century novels are all powdered wigs and polite pronouncements, then Smollett is here to chuck a chamber pot out the window of your expectations. This isn't just a book, it's a chaotic carriage ride through Georgian Britain, a cacophony of complaints, a symphony of smells, mostly bad, and a masterclass in observational satire that had me snorting with laughter and then immediately pondering the peculiarities of human nature. This book is a delightful, dirty, dazzling mess, and I am absolutely amped to unpack its glorious eccentricities with you. Okay, picture this. Mid-18th century Britain. We're not in one place, we're on an expedition, a rambling, often disastrous tour undertaken by the Bramble family and their entourage, from their estate in Wales, through the spa towns of England like Bath and Harrogate, all the way up to the rugged landscapes of Scotland, and then back again. But this ain't your serene, picturesque grand tour. Oh no. Smollett plunges us headfirst into the sights, sounds, and most memorably the smells of the era. Think muddy roads, overcrowded inns, dubious spa waters that probably cure nothing but your thirst for something stronger, bustling cities full of quacks and pickpockets, and the constant, glorious, grating cacophony of human beings simply existing in close proximity. The vibe is earthy, it's boisterous, it's a vibrant, often unflattering, but undeniably alive snapshot of a Britain in flux, grappling with new ideas, new money, and old prejudices. And we see it all through the wonderfully varied, often hilariously biased perspectives of our letter-writing protagonists. And the characters. Oh, what a glorious menagerie of lovable curmudgeons, naive innocents, and outright oddballs. Because this is an epistolary novel, we get right inside their heads, unfiltered. Matthew Bramble, our primary correspondent, the hypochondriac, cantankerous, but ultimately good-hearted Welsh squire. His core motivation? To find relief for his myriad, mostly imaginary ailments and to escape the perceived horrors of modern society. His fatal flaw? His extreme grumpiness, his tendency to see the worst in everything at first, and his hilariously overblown reactions to minor inconveniences. He made me want to give him a hot water bottle and then immediately laugh with him, not at him, mostly. His letters are a gold mine of curmudgeonly complaints about everything from the stink of Bath to the noise of London. But underneath that crusty exterior is a genuinely kind and observant man, and his arc is one of slowly, grudgingly, finding some contentment and even Tabby Bramble, cab-hungry, and utterly ridiculous sister. Her core motivation? To snag a husband, any husband, preferably a wealthy one. Her fatal flaw? Her vanity, her affectation, her complete lack of self-awareness, and her truly appalling spelling and grammar, which is a running gag in her letters. Oh, Tabby made me cringe and howl with laughter. She's a magnificent caricature of a desperate spinster, utterly awful, but somehow you can't help but be amused by her relentless, often disastrous, pursuit of matrimony. Lydia Melford, Liddy's sweet, romantic, and rather naive niece. Her core motivation is to find true love and navigate the complexities of polite society. Her letters are full of youthful idealism and romantic sighs. She's the ingenue, often caught between her family's eccentricities and her own budding romantic attachments. She made me feel protective, like, oh honey, don't listen to your awful aunt. Jerry Melfort, Lydia's brother, a recent Oxford graduate, witty, observant, and often a bit of a cynical young buck. His core motivation is to observe the world with a detached amusement and to make sure his sister doesn't make a fool of herself. His letters provide a more sophisticated, often satirical, counterpoint to Matthew Bramble's grumbling and Lydia's romanticism. He's our slightly more detached, worldly narrator for certain sections. Winifred Wynne Jenkins, Tabitha's long-suffering, superstitious, and hilariously semi-literate Welsh serving maid. Her letters, full of malapropisms and bizarre interpretations of events, are comedic dynamite. Her core motivation is loyalty to her mistress, however trying, and a desire to understand the bewildering English world. She made me weep with laughter. Her mangled English is a work of art in itself. And of course, Humphry Clinker, the titular character, though he doesn't write any letters himself. He's the ragged, uncouth, but incredibly loyal and good-natured Methodist postilion and later servant who joins the Bramble expedition. He's a figure of almost saintly simplicity and devotion, despite his rough exterior and unfortunate name, which is a source of much comedy. His core motivation is pure, unadulterated goodness and loyalty. He's the moral anchor in this sea of eccentrics, and his unexpected connections to the family drive much of the later plot. The plot in Humphry Clinker isn't a tight, suspenseful narrative. It's an 18th century road trip, an episodic series of misadventures, observations, and character interactions as the Bramble family and their entourage travel through Britain. The conflicts are often situational, the horrors of a crowded spa town, a disastrous social encounter, a case of mistaken identity, the trials of travel in a rickety carriage. The real plot is the journey itself and how the different locations and experiences affect each character, revealing their personalities and prejudices through their letters. The stakes are often comedic. Will Tabby find a husband? Will Matthew Bramble ever find a cure for his gout or his grumpiness? Will Win Jenkins ever learn to spell? But underlying it all are deeper stakes about happiness, social connection, and understanding. Moments that had me guffawing or shaking my head in disbelief. Matthew Bramble's apoplectic descriptions of the effluvia and general horror of Bath. His letters are like 18th century TripAdvisor one-star reviews, and they are glorious. Tabitha Bramble's relentless and increasingly desperate attempts to attract suitors, often with disastrous and hilarious consequences. The Win Jenkins letters, period. Every single one is a masterpiece of unintentional comedy. Her attempts to use fancy words she doesn't understand are legendary. He's a perfect seminary of ingenuity. The introduction of Humphry Clinker himself, a character so initially off-putting that his eventual importance is a wonderful surprise. And the various romantic entanglements and misunderstandings that pepper the journey, often leading to farcical situations. The stark contrast between the different characters' perceptions of the same event or same place. One person's hell is another's heaven, or at least tolerable. The beauty of this epistolary structure is that we get these multiple, often contradictory first-person accounts, painting a rich, multifaceted, and incredibly funny picture of the times. Why did this 18th century romp totally win over this 21st century book addict? Smollett's satirical genius is razor-sharp and hilarious. He has an incredible eye for human folly, for hypocrisy, for the absurdities of social convention. He's not afraid to be a bit coarse, a bit Rabelaisian, and the result is a book that feels wonderfully alive and refreshingly unsanitized. His satire targets everything from medical quackery and social climbing to national prejudices and religious affectation. The epistolary form is used to perfection, getting the story through the letters of these vastly different characters is a stroke of genius. It allows for multiple perspectives, dramatic irony, we often know more than the letter writer does, and an incredible showcase of different voices and comedic styles. Win Jenkins' letters alone are a reason to read this book. The characters are unforgettable eccentrics. Even the most minor characters feel distinct and memorable. Smollett has a gift for creating these larger-than-life, often deeply flawed, but ultimately very human figures. You might not want to be stuck in a carriage with all of them, but they are endlessly entertaining to read about. It's a vivid, exaggerated snapshot of George Britain. Beyond the comedy, you get a real sense of the social landscape, the conditions of travel, the different regional identities, the preoccupations and prejudices of the time. It's a surprisingly rich historical document, filtered through a satirical lens. The sheer, unadulterated fun of it, this book is just a joy to read. If you appreciate witty satire and a good dose of farcical humor, it doesn't take itself too seriously, even when it's making serious points. It's a literary romp. Beyond the slapstick and the satire, Smollett is actually grappling with some pretty interesting themes. Health, sickness, and hypochondria, Matthew Bramble's obsession with his health is a running gag, but it also allows Smollett to satirize the medical practices and spa culture of the time. It also touches on the very real anxieties about health in an era before modern medicine. Urban versus rural life / nature versus civilization, there's a constant tension between the perceived corruption and unhealthiness of city life, especially London and Bath, and the idealized simplicity and virtue of the countryside, particularly Wales and later parts of Scotland. Social class and pretension. Smollett has a field day with the social climbers, the anachronistic aristocrats, and the general obsession with status and appearance. National identity and prejudice. The journey through England and Scotland allows for a lot of commentary, often humorous, sometimes critical, on English, Welsh, and Scottish characteristics and prejudices. The search for contentment. Ultimately, many of the characters, despite their different paths, are searching for some form of happiness or contentment, whether it's through health, love, social standing, or simply a bit of peace and quiet. The nature of goodness. Humphry Clinker himself, despite his lowly origins and initial unfortunate circumstances, often embodies a simple, unpretentious goodness that contrasts sharply with the affectations of his betters. This book made me think about how much and how little human nature has changed. The complaints about noisy neighbors, bad food, and annoying travel companions, still relatable. The obsession with health fads and social status, definitely still around. Finishing the expedition of Humphry Clinker left me feeling thoroughly entertained and surprisingly thoughtful. It's like going on a long, chaotic, but ultimately very rewarding road trip with a bunch of hilariously dysfunctional but weirdly lovable relatives. It's a book that makes you laugh until your sides hurt, and then, in a quieter moment, makes you nod in recognition at its keen observations on humanity. It stands out because of its unique structure, its unforgettable characters, and its sheer, unadulterated comedic energy. It's a reminder that classic literature doesn't always have to be solemn and serious. It can be bawdy, irreverent, and just plain funny, while still offering sharp insights into its time and ours. It's a literary pick-me-up, a delightful escape into a world of glorious grumbling and unexpected grace. So, my incomparable companions on this literary highway, my novel nesters who appreciate a bit of grit with their grandeur. If you are looking for a classic that will genuinely make you laugh out loud, if you enjoy sharp satire, unforgettable characters, and a journey that's as messy as it is memorable, then I don't just recommend The Expedition of Humphry Clinker. I implore you, I wholeheartedly encourage you, I practically dare you to join the Bramble family on their riotous tour. It's perfect for when you need a break from the overly serious, when you want to be reminded that people have been ridiculous and wonderful for centuries, and when you just need a damn good laugh alongside some surprisingly astute social commentary. What are your favorite epistolary novels? Who are the most hilariously awful literary relatives you've ever encountered? And what's the worst travel experience a book has ever taken you on? In a good way? Let's get this 18th century carriage house confabulation going in the comments below. I am dying to hear your thoughts. Alright, that's the absolutely delighted, slightly road-weary, and thoroughly entertained dispatch from your devoted correspondent here at the Novel Nest. If this journey with the Brambles and the inimitable Humphry Clinker has tickled your funny bone or piqued your literary curiosity, then for the love of Win Jenkins' spelling and Matthew Bramble's glorious grumbling, smash that like button until it rattles like an old stagecoach. And if you haven't yet booked your passage on this literary expedition, what in the name of Bath's dubious waters are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button and let's explore more hilarious and historical highways together. Until our next adventure, keep reading, keep laughing, and may your journeys always be more pleasant than Matthew Bramble's, initially anyway. Peace out, you glorious grumblers and gigglers.